Alright, so I did a vlog about the end of the world, and I was planning to just leave it at that. Now, I read up about it afterwards, and I just really needed to respond to some of the idiotic things that I read about. And one of the first things that was predicted was that earthquakes would start at 6 p.m. Well, it was predicted by some that they would start first in, I think, Australia, or wherever 6 p.m. comes first in the world based on time zones. I just shook my head. Really? God understands time zones? He does things by time zones? He has a watch? What if he isn't on Greenwich Mean Time or whatever the heck it is? I find it difficult to believe that he would schedule a cataclysm at a specific time and then be nice enough to honor the time zones for it. Now, some of the things that I thought were cute were that some of the non-believers were encouraging people to do things like lay clothes and shoes out on your front lawn so that it kind of gave the impression that you were beamed up. Apparently there were suicide hotlines set up so that people that actually believed this could call in if they were disappointed that the cataclysm didn't start, or that the cataclysm may have started, but they weren't chosen. Really? How do you console somebody about that? Well, I'm sure he plans to return someday. The cataclysm is coming, and I'm sure you'll be picked. Now, a lot of these people quit their jobs so that they could go on the road in these caravans and warn people that the apocalypse was coming. The thing that's kind of funny about that is, good luck getting a job now. I mean, unless you hide it somewhere on your resume, who the hell is going to hire you? You know, what were you doing for the last 3 months? Well, I was on the road informing people about the impending apocalypse. It didn't happen, so now I would like to come back to work. Now, this guy's nonsense spread around the world. Apparently in Vietnam, some people that were buying into this actually went up into the hills to hide when they believed the apocalypse was coming. I mean, can you imagine? He's God. You don't think he knows where you're hiding? He sees everything. You think running to the hills is going to help you? Come on. I think all the atheist house burglars are probably having a field day while you're up in the mountains. Apparently on Craigslist, people who didn't believe the apocalypse was coming were offering to buy the worldly goods of the people who thought the apocalypse was coming. So way to take advantage of somebody who's stupid. Then again, if you're stupid enough to have believed in the apocalypse, you probably don't deserve to own anything. Apparently the other atheists sold hundreds of contracts to believers to rescue their pets. Now, I'm not sure if you're still legally bound to take care of the pet. If the person you sold the contract to decided that the cataclysm was eventually coming and that they wanted you to take their pet. Talk about the ultimate backfire. There's a guy in New York named Robert Fitzpatrick, and he was inspired by camping's predictions. And he apparently spent 140 grand on posters and leaflets, which he pasted around New York City. You know, he was doing the right thing. He was warning everybody about the impending apocalypse. And I guess he figured if he used 140 grand of his own cash, that would gain him favor with God. So this guy hung around in Times Square, holding a Bible, waiting for the cataclysm to start, looking at his watch to see when 6 o'clock was coming. And then, of course, 6 o'clock came and went, and he was quoted as saying, "I don't understand why," and then looking down at his watch. I'll tell you why. Because the prediction was a ridiculous farce, and because you're a mental midget for even believing in it. 140 grand? How did somebody with your kind of judgment ever come into that kind of money? So there's a couple of problems I have with all this. The first one is, as I mentioned in my first video, is that the news networks were giving it way too much coverage. I know that fear sells, but the problem is, and this is the second problem I have with this, is you're affecting people's lives. People were selling their stuff, selling their worldly goods, quitting their jobs, doing all kinds of ridiculous things because they believed the apocalypse was coming. And some of them inevitably will have ruined their lives because of it. I think every single one of these people should sue this guy for all he's worth, which probably won't be much if everybody sues him. I think that the news networks are just as responsible for all that happened to any of the lives that may have been destroyed by this. I don't think they should have given this guy any coverage, and if they did, they should have said, "Oh, by the way, we don't believe him, he's a moron, he predicted before, didn't happen, don't sell your stuff, don't be an idiot." They didn't do any of that. As a result, I mean, people were talking about it everywhere. I saw people on Facebook talking about it. They were talking about it on the radio. It just got to ridiculous proportions. And this guy's a nobody. I mean, how did his prediction even get picked up? I don't know. It's just bizarre to me. Anyway, the end didn't happen. I knew it wasn't going to. Feel free to comment below. Thanks for watching.